Thank you for that introduction. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I am Danae originally from New Mexico, and I currently live in Phoenix, Arizona. So let's get started on the presentation, Reaching Diverse Communities with the Dementia Friends program, connecting Dementia Friends to Native Americans. Next slide, please. So I want to provide some information about Banner Alzheimer's Institute's Native American Outreach Program in Phoenix, Arizona. This program was established in 2003 to improve awareness, care, and scientific understanding of Alzheimer's disease in tribal communities, and to support participation of interested Native Americans in a study of longitudinal aging and dementia. This program was called the Native American Project, and it began at Sun Health Research Institute in Sun City, Arizona, and then later transitioned to, in 2008, to Banner Alzheimer's Institute in Phoenix. Some of the core services that this program provides are customized outreach and education programs designed to increase the knowledge and awareness about Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, and improve caregiving strategies. We also provide an annual statewide conference and pre-conference on Alzheimer's disease in Native Americans. We developed a virtual Native American toolkit training on Alzheimer's disease. This toolkit and training program was designed to meet the ever-changing needs of both community members and professionals. We have other resources such as a Native American caregiver circle group that discuss an Alzheimer's topic that provide strategies for caregivers, professionals that work in tribal communities, and family members. We meet on Zoom every second Thursday of the month. We also have a monthly Native American e-newsletter with a variety of topics and links to support groups, classes, and other events. We have many other resources that you can check out on our website. Next slide, please. So Arizona is home to 22 tribes. As you can see, the map gives a great picture of where these tribal communities are located. Banner Alzheimer's Institute's Native American Outreach Program specifically reaches out to tribal communities in both rural and urban locations. Prior to the pandemic, I have traveled to various tribal communities offering Dementia Friends. Our organization did not receive permission to start the Dementia Friends program until 2017. We were one of the very first states to get a license to start providing the Dementia Friends program. So our state, including tribal communities, have been receiving this information since then. In 2018, we traveled to the National Indian Council on Aging, which is the NICOA conference in Temecula, California. And we were privileged to provide Dementia Friends information to a national audience from various tribal nations across the United States. That same year, during the fall of 2018, we provided Dementia Friends at our annual pre-conference for professionals that work in tribal communities. Once making key connections with tribal professionals at this pre-conference, requests to present Dementia Friends increased, and we were busy providing this information to their community. As a side note, when I was preparing this presentation and I had included this map, and I saw all of these tribal communities listed here, I didn't realize what a huge responsibility it would be to help provide dementia and brain health education in the beginning of my career. In the beginning of working with tribal communities through this program, when I was a new employee, there were barriers I had to work out. One of the issues that I could see was a distrust tribal members had to outsiders. Although I had some of the community contacts from my predecessor, I had to rebuild all of those connections with all of the tribal communities I served. This was not something that was done overnight. When I would travel to their community, I would have to leave early so that it allowed me a chance to sit and talk to groups of elders about myself. Even after presenting dementia information to those same elders, they were not willing to sign my sign-in sheet. They were suspicious about signing anything. They know the value of a signature and they were protective of it. Even though our program has been around since 2003 and they were familiar with our program, and there were a few changes in personnel, and as a new person to their community, they were still very careful. I was not fazed by their cautious nature, and I never took it personally. I understood their hesitation, and I was never offended. So, you know, I had to make adjustments on our part respectfully. And one of the complaints, though, that I did hear from them was that various well-known organizations would come to their community and they would promise that they would return and provide some education and support. And sadly, those organizations never returned. So our mission statement at Banner Alzheimer's Institute is ending Alzheimer's disease without losing a generation. By supporting that mission statement, we have worked to provide consistent education support and good communication with tribal communities on our part. We made sure we had a good contact in the community for guidance. You know, having a partner in the tribal community was really important to me because some of the locations that I traveled were pretty remote and rural, as you can see on the map. There have been many times that I would arrange for my contact to meet me on the road to show me where to go, because a lot of the roads out there are still not mapped on any of the electronic mapping systems that we have available on our phones. So I would oftentimes have to make that arrangement. I've traveled very south, very near the Mexico border. I would be warned about making sure I didn't stop because groups of immigrants crossing the border illegally can surround your car, make you stop, and then they will steal your car. I've also been warned not to stop to take pictures of the cute burros that cross the road because they'll charge at you. They look innocent, they're very cute, so they just said don't be fooled. I've also been warned about the massive potholes on the way to Havasupai and to drive carefully along reservation roads that don't have fencing along the road, you know, to block the livestock because oftentimes they do roam freely on the road. I usually travel alone, so my community contact and my office know my travel itinerary in case I would run into problems on the road. So my community contact became very essential for safety reasons, and they would be helpful in providing tips that helped me travel safely through their community. And if you have questions regarding their culture, they can help you with that too. Honestly, there's so many tribal nations in the United States that one person cannot know every single culture. So it's always good to ask someone in the tribal community you work with to help you out in that area. One other tip I can provide for people that are interested in working with tribal communities, you know, allow time and the ability to be creative about solutions to your barriers. And these will help you build lasting programs in your tribal communities. Next slide, please. In regards to Dementia Friends, we did make some changes to materials for tribal communities. We included resources for tribal communities in the Dementia Friends Champions Guide. We also adjusted the Dementia Friends format of the presentation. We used the script that was provided, and we also created and provided a one-page, two-side handout for participants to follow. You know, as we discussed the Dementia Friends material, they follow along using the handout instead of following a PowerPoint presentation. We eventually created a PowerPoint presentation for the NICOA conference and our pre-conference because we had very large groups. They were also provided a copy of the handout to use as they followed along. For the NICOA conference, we created a Dementia Friends brochure that participants could take home with them. This brochure included a brief description of the program, resources, and information on how to be involved. In regards to the book case story versus the river story, when the river story first came out, we were asked to provide feedback on that story. And they were looking at editing the story and they asked for our help. We provided the explanation of some of the symbolism in the story, and then they finalized the story. The river story is actually a really beautiful story. It has great imagery and it speaks well of the progression of dementia. However, when we discussed using the story in Arizona, We thought that the bookcase story was more relatable and that a library was not unknown to Indian country. We live in Arizona and the majority of the state does not have flowing rivers. Our riverbeds are usually dry. And so we wanted to use a story that was more relatable, and the cultural relevancy to rivers is not here in many tribal communities. So, we have received many positive comments back about the bookshelf story, and they find the story useful and they understand the imagery. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of the Dementia Friends handout we use. I was having problems copying the brochure for this slide. I'm sorry, it doesn't give the entire page on that front page. This handout is actually front and back, and we use the main points of the Dementia Friends presentation. The interactive exercise, we use Mirrors the Champion's Guide, and we do provide a handout of it, a hard copy of it. So it's pretty easy to follow along. Most of the time, I don't use the PowerPoint when I present Dementia Friends. It's easier for me to transport this to programs, and it contributes to the casual discussion feeling rather than a formal presentation. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of our Dementia Friends presentation. We did commission an artist to brand our materials for our program. He did a great job, and he did lots of research to create this painting. This part of the painting that you see is an image that's taken from it. We do have a portrait of it on our website. So if you want to take a look at the entire portrait, you can view that there. The transparent images of this picture, it represents memories. And this represents many tribal communities in Arizona. Although this is Dementia Friends information we are sharing, our tribal communities in Arizona know that we're including and supporting their community. Next slide, please. So some questions to think about. What has worked out well for our program? Well, using the handout with the Dementia Friends program and presentation has worked well. We often pause during the presentation for questions they might have. This has been useful to clarify, explain, or review. And it's been helpful to make connections with Dementia Friends and then have them think about how it benefits them and their community. I like hearing comments like, I hadn't thought about it that way before, or no one has ever explained it to me like that. Now I understand. The next question, what has been challenging? There's a negative stigma associated with Alzheimer's and dementia topics. And this was touched on yesterday during the presentation, Indigenous Perspectives on Dementia-Friendly Communities. And Jordan Lewis was correct when he said that there are various cultural perspectives. And I've actually seen this in action. I have been to senior centers on the reservation where people literally walk out when they find out what I'm going to present. And they walk out even before I even get started. And I can understand their perspective. Alzheimer's and dementia can be a depressing topic to discuss. So it's really important to keep the Dementia Friends presentation positive and simple. Engaging the audience in the beginning, tell them they're going to have some fun learning about how to become a dementia friend, keep the conversation going, ask questions along the way, and then tell them what you liked about the Dementia Friends presentation. I usually mention number 4 of the 5 key messages. It is possible to have a good quality of life with dementia. That key message is positive and it provides hope. And many folks have said that appreciate that simple message, and many have commented that they never had thought that could be possible. Another challenge that has happened is the pandemic. The pandemic has created many barriers for tribal communities. I have not been able to continue this work during the tribal closures and adjustments they have and the adjustments they have made in the community. Adjustments were made in many tribal departments that created other duties for workers to serve their community. So they were reassigned in elderly services departments or places where They have contact with family that do have dementia. Those people were actually trying to, they were relocated, doing other emergency deliveries and those sorts of things. Senior centers had closed and Wi-Fi is very sporadic in many tribal communities. I was starting to provide more presentations since the onslaught of between when COVID hit and then it kind of tapered off a bit. I was starting to provide more presentations to tribal communities. However, tribes are now in various stages during this time due to the Delta variant. And so tribes are taking a step back and opening up their community. So since the pandemic began, our Native American outreach program has been busy making many adjustments. We've created more programs and we have been distributing them in creative ways. So this program will continue to evolve so that we can provide tribal communities with continual support and information. Another question, what would you say to others who are trying to make cultural adaptations of this program or other dementia awareness programs? You know, it's always positive to connect to your audience in a meaningful way. When we provide training for professionals that work within a tribal community, you know, we encourage them to use examples they feel will make a positive impact, including cultural examples. We also ask if there are caregivers who would like to share their experience as it pertains to Dementia Friends and get some feedback about that part about what part of it they connected with. You know, using examples from their community strengthens their connection to the material. Another question, what has been the response to Dementia Friends in tribal communities? The tribal communities that I provide this information to really appreciate the information. They appreciate the 5 key messages and the positivity surrounding its message. They appreciate understanding the challenges associated with having a memory impairment. They appreciate the communication and conversation tips, which they have said they needed to know so that they can have a more meaningful visit with relatives and friends. And they're willing to practice being a dementia friend to benefit their community. Next slide, please. I've included a link to our website and it does have my contact information. I hope that you will take some time to check it out and explore. Please take a look at some of the programs that are also available through our Family and Community Services Department. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Nicole. That was a really insightful look into the process that your organization has worked on. And yeah, I'm really excited to engage in some conversation about it after Leticia and Heather. So next, I'd like to invite Leticia Meza to the table. And Leticia is a community education and outreach bilingual specialist with the Alzheimer's Association, Alzheimer's Los Angeles. And for over 11 years, she has built strong community partnerships with local organizations and stakeholders. Leticia helps to uplift underserved and diverse communities and connect them to resources and information. Leticia grew up in Boyle Heights neighborhood of Los Angeles. She is married and has 2 beautiful children. So Leticia, take it away.
Hi, I'm Kelly Tacosta. I'm actually going to start our presentation. I'm just going to give a really quick background on Dementia Friends in California. It's administered by our organization, Alzheimer's Los Angeles, and it's part of an initiative from the city and the county of Los Angeles. We had this whole process to create a age-friendly plan, recognizing that in Los Angeles County, we have a growing number of older adults. And so they created this plan to make our city and county more dementia friendly. And then included in that was the adoption of Dementia Friends. And so our county said, we're going to take on the responsibility to provide Dementia Friends across the entire state as part of our age-friendly initiatives. And so our mayor and our county board of supervisors all became Dementia Friends. And if you go to our website, you can see little videos of it they did in support of that. And because our organization, we're a local nonprofit serving Los Angeles, the greater Los Angeles area, we're just located regionally here in Southern California. So we are partnered with other counties to provide coverage across the state, and we're looking to continue to expand across the state so that we have more coverage. So I'm going to turn it over to Leticia to give us more of an understanding of how we've delivered Dementia Friends to the Latino community. Ready?
Hi, good morning. And like Kelly said, my name is Leticia, and I've been working in the community for over 20 years. So we took the Dementia Friends program and added it to our education programs. We knew it was going to be tough, but I'm a determined person, so I'm had to try to make it work. And not only me, but there's other people that have also showed this presentation. So when people will contact me to do this presentation in their community, they would ask me, you know, for presentations and what would I have to show. So I will email the presentation topics to the people and let them choose. But some people will pick them randomly and they would ask, you know, if if I had anything that I can show. And so I will tell them we have many topics, and so you can pick. But sometimes they will pick the Dementia Friends first. And unfortunately, I will tell them, so do you know anything about dementia? And so they will say, no. Okay, I said, so well, why don't you let me try to bring you like a series? And so this way we will teach you from A to Z. So next. I'm sorry. So I will tell them, you know, I have a series to show. So these are the presentations that I will show to the community. And I can tell you there's 4 of them. I'm sorry, my computer is going a little nuts here. So I will show, we have 4 presentations that we can show. So I would offer either the Lost Memories. It's a program. I will offer them the Lost Memories, and they will tell me, how would you want to come? Do you want to come once a week, once a month, or as needed? And so they will pick. And so I will come and show the presentation. They're all in Spanish and they're culturally adapted. So as you can see in this slide, there is 4 presentations. So the first one will be the Lost Memories. Next, basically, this presentation is a telenovela and it has 4 segments. It is about 8 to 10 minutes each, and it is about a Latino family struggling with the diagnosis of abuelita or grandma Gloria and the stigma in the Latino community about Alzheimer's disease. Telenovelas are a TV show like a soap opera, and they're very popular in the Latino community. And they're very popular in Mexico and in all of South America. And they're very popular with all ages. So when we explain the information in a story form, it is easier for people to understand it. And people are very visual. So that's the first presentation that I show. Then I come back and do the next presentation. Memory loss and Alzheimer's. Let's talk. On this presentation, they learn an overview about memory loss, Alzheimer's. We talk about dementia and what to do when you visit your doctor. We watch a small video that talks about Alzheimer's disease, and it shows how the disease progresses and how it physically impacts the brain. Then the next presentation that I show, it is next, keeping your brain healthy. Now that they've learned the warning signs and what is dementia, so now we're going to talk about how to keep your brain healthy. And this includes nutritional tips and how to keep active and ways to challenge your brain. We do interactive brain games in this presentation. The games are adapted for the audiences, and these are very popular because we like to play games, especially like Loteria or Bingo. So these games are good because they give your brain a challenge and then you're exercising your brain at the same time. Next. Then the last presentation, the Dementia Friends. So in this class, as you know, you learn what dementia, we learn the warning signs and the 5 key messages, and some communication tips on how to speak with someone with dementia. In Spanish, I spend a little more time because of the types of dementia, and because unfortunately the doctors often just tell you that you have dementia when people go to the doctor, but unfortunately, us as Latinos don't ask the doctor what type of dementia. So this is also depends on the person's level of education. And this is important because people need to be able to advocate for their health. Oftentimes, doctors dismiss you because of assumptions about your education, or ethnicity. Or the doctor just does not have enough knowledge about dementia themselves, unfortunately. Here, in the next, we have cultural adoptions. We can make an assumption that everyone can read. We make assumptions that participants can read the workbook, or we ask for volunteers to read out loud. A couple of times, people have shared with me that they're not able to read. So I say to them, don't worry, I will read the paragraph out loud for you or have someone else read it for them and help them so they will not feel left out. In the English Dementia Friends session, we do an everyday task, like making a peanut butter sandwich. But in the Spanish presentation, instead, I ask people to share their morning routine. And I believe this is easier for people to talk about. Some people, they share their routine in the morning. What do they do as soon as they get up? Some people, they pray. Some people, they brush their teeth. Some people take a shower, etc. And then I ask them, how would a person with dementia do all those activities? Put yourself in their shoes. So this is very eye-opening for them. When I used to hold a support group, I would always emphasize to treat people with Alzheimer's with dignity and respect. We always think that they might not be able to be there, but somehow they have lucidity and know what's going on around them. I'll tell you, I used to hold support group. I used to be the support group leader, and I had a lady that she couldn't leave her husband at home. She will always have to bring him with her. And of course, in support groups, we share what's going on at home, what's happening with them. And she was sharing things that he was doing at home. And unfortunately, he got upset when he heard her talk about him. So he got up and said, why are you talking about me like that? So yeah, so we think they might be in another world, but they're not. So we always have to remember to treat people with Alzheimer's or dementia with respect. On the next slide, the Dementia Friends. At the end of the presentation, now that they've taken all 4 classes, we give them a pen. It's an Alzheimer's LA logo, and we take a group picture. As you can see, this is one of the group pictures that I had. And the sign in the front, it says, we are Dementia Friends, somos amigos de la demencia, because the class was in Spanish. And I tell them to wear their pin. So when people ask about it, you can explain that you took a series of classes and now that you became a dementia friend. And so by sharing this information by word of mouth, you're making a difference in the community, one person at a time. On the next picture, you'll see that this is a senior housing where I went and did the presentation. And some of the groups that I've done these presentations are senior housing facilities, schools, health plans. So yeah, basically that's what I've been doing. And it's been pretty acceptable in the community. But yeah, at the beginning is challenge, but once I bring them that first novella and then they understand it, and after that they love it. And so they go home with a little bit more understanding of what Alzheimer's and dementia is. So with that, I thank you. I have my information here. And then I also have the information of my organization. And then we can take questions at the end. Thank you so much.